Okay, so hypotenuse leg, we abbreviate it HL. It again only works in right triangles. So let's draw a right triangle. And let's talk for a second about the parts of a right triangle, because a right triangle is made up of a few different parts. Can anyone tell me how we know which side's the hypotenuse? Katie?
It's the side that goes vertical that doesn't make the right triangle.
Okay, it's the side that does not make the right angle. That's a good way to think about it. So these two sides make up that 90 degree. So it's the other side. I usually think of it as it's the side that's across from 90. So if here's 90, go straight across, that's your hypotenuse. If you are used to thinking of it as the slanted side, if we rotate this, is it going to be the slanted side necessarily? No. So that's why I want you guys to kind of break out of the habit of slanted side, if that's what you're used to, and think of it as either the side that doesn't make the 90 or the side that's across from 90. Okay, the other two sides are called the legs. So when we're trying to see if two right triangles are congruent, we're looking for exactly what it says here, a hypotenuse and a leg. So before we can even look for hypotenuse and leg, the first question you need to be able to answer yes to, do you have a 90-degree angle? Okay, if you can't even say you have a 90-degree angle, then hypotenuse leg will not work for you. This only works when 90 degrees is one of your angles. The second question you want to ask yourself are about the hypotenuse. Are the hypotenuse congruent? And then finally, do you have a pair of legs that are congruent? Okay, those are the three questions you ask yourself to see if you have hypotenuse leg. If you answer no at any point, then you don't have it. You have to answer yes to all three of these questions to have hypotenuse leg. Okay, so I'm going to draw up here two pairs of triangles, so 4 total. And we're going to see if hypotenuse leg fits each pair. So our first pair, I'm going to draw. I have this one here with this one here. And then I'm going to draw my second pair over here just to the right. Okay, so if we look at the first pair, ask yourself the 3 questions. So for the first pair, 90 degrees, do we have it? Yes. All right, so far so good. On the first pair, hypotenuse, do we have it?
Yes.
Yes. On the third question, do we have a leg?
Yes.
So did we answer yes to all 3?
Yes.
So what can we say?
They're congruent.
They're congruent by hypotenuse leg. So we can say congruent by hypotenuse leg. Okay, what about the second one? Do we have 90?
No.
Can we use hypotenuse leg?
No.
No. So if even one of those questions has a no as an answer, you cannot use hypotenuse leg. Okay, so this is going to be the one that finishes off our list. So we have now 5. Again, the hypotenuse leg is only for right triangles. Okay. So any questions about hypotenuse leg before we jump into an example? Yes?
Do both of the legs have to be, or can it just be one?
You say leg or hypotenuse?
Okay, so it would have to be corresponding legs.
But just like one set of
Just one set, yep. Because if you notice, if we make our markings on this, what's the letters that would have gone with this if we had stuck with those letters? Anyone notice?
Angle side.
Angle, side, side. What does that make? A bad word. Normally we say bad words don't make postulates. But in this case, that's why it's called hypotenuse leg. It's like the only time we can use the bad word one, but we don't use the bad word. We use hypotenuse leg instead. So don't let that throw you when you see that, because normally we don't have side-side angle as a postulate. We have hypotenuse leg, though, only when it's a right triangle. Okay, so let's go into an example like our homework. We're going to draw 2 right triangles. And I'm going to tell you that the triangles are congruent. Okay, so that way we know that they're congruent. We're not going to prove it, we're just going to know it. Let me move that up so you guys can see better. We need to solve for x and y. Any thoughts as to how we might do that? Or set up an equation? Dima?
Maybe. I thought that because those I thought the hypotenuse they're equal. I thought that.
Yeah, so because we know they're congruent, we know that the hypotenuse have to equal each other. So that means we can say 3y will equal x plus 3. What else do we know is equal? X and y plus 1. So the legs have to also be equal. Okay, so what we have here is something we kind of touched on the very first week. And you learned it in Math 1. We have a system of equations. Anyone remember how we solved a system of equations? He just comes in randomly. Yeah. Yeah.
But can't you just start it by doing 2x plus 3 equals 4y plus 2?
But we don't know how to solve that with 2 letters.
Oh yeah. Right.
So the fact that there was 2 letters, that's what's throwing this off to where we want to write 2 equations.
Will we put the y plus 1 in the x spot?
Yes, so in a system, do you see how x is by itself? X is equal to y plus 1, which means over here where I see x, I can put instead y plus 1. So 3y equals, now instead of x, I put y plus 1, and then I still have my plus 3 at the end. So now I have 1 letter in my equation that we can solve. Is this ringing a bell from last year, Math 1?
Yeah.
Kinda? Okay. So, subtract y to both sides, and I'm just going to add like terms on the right. We divide both sides by 2, and we find that y is 2. So how do we find x? We plug 2 in for y into that equation. So x is equal to 2 plus 1, so x is equal to 3. So on your assignment tonight, you're going to have about, I think it's 4 of these. Not all of them are going to give you a system of equations. This one I wanted to do because in case you did get one, I wanted to make sure you guys knew how to do it. Okay, but you might not get a system, and that's okay. You might get some that are just nice linear equations. Okay, any questions on hypotenuse legs so far? Okay, before we end, I wanted to go through one proof that uses hypotenuse leg, just so you can see how it's used in a proof, and then you guys will have time to work on your homework. All right, so for our proof, we're going to be given angle PRS and angle RPQ are right angles. And SP is congruent to QR. And we're going to try to prove triangle PRS is congruent to triangle RPQ. So the picture that goes with this, I'm going to start by drawing a vertical line. From the top of the vertical line, I'm going to draw a horizontal line to the right. And then from the bottom of the vertical line, I'm going to draw a horizontal line to the left. So again, it looks a little bit like a staircase. But then I'm going to go ahead and connect so it looks like a four-sided polygon. So when we write our proof, first thing we write and mark is our given. Okay, so first thing we write is our given. So let's fill in and mark our picture at the same time. So angle PRS and angle RPQ are right angles. So that means I can go ahead and put my little boxes in those two corners. I also know that SP is congruent to QR. So if we think about our questions for hypotenuse leg, do we have 90-degree angles? Yeah. Do we have a hypotenuse? Yeah, that's what SP and QR are. So now we just need a leg. So what leg can we say is congruent in these two triangles? Katie?
Like PR is congruent to PR.
Good. PR is congruent to PR because of the reflexive property, and I realize I forgot to write given up here as my reason. So now I have right angles, a hypotenuse, and a leg. So that means I can say triangle PRS is congruent to triangle RPQ by hypotenuse leg. Okay, one of the reasons I wanted to go over a proof here It's because they do have a little bit of a different layout than our other ones. In all of our other proofs, we had to show 3 things were congruent to be able to say that triangles were congruent. Here, we just need to show 2 things are congruent and that we have a right angle. So that right angle is going to take the place of one of the congruent statements. Okay?